So this is my Penn State Purdue preview and prediction. Um, this video is mainly going to be on the prediction and how I see this game going. Um, Penn State's coming off an emotional win versus Ohio State in a home thriller. Their biggest win since the sanctions. Um, and they're ranked for the first time since the sanctions, which I think I'm making a bigger deal than what most people are about it. Yeah, they're ranked, but to me, it's a bigger deal because it's kind of these sanctions were really big. The NCAA tried to kill Penn State football. They tried to kill them by giving them 4 years in a postseason ban, giving them major scholarship reductions, and when the team's winning, they were going to try to make it be like if this team's winning 3-4 games a year, then it's going to be hard to get the program back, and they were hoping that that won't happen. I'm not saying that Penn State's going to return to its once it was level where it was top 10 every year, 10 wins every year. If it wasn't 10, it would be an upsetting year. Um, but I'm thinking that this team will still that they're headed in the right direction right now. I'll just say that. This team can have a letdown against Purdue. Purdue is not that good of a team. Okay, let's not be dumb. They're 3-4. They got murdered by Cincinnati, who's not that great of a team. They only lost to Nebraska by 13 points. But here's the thing: Nebraska isn't that great of a team. They win every game by a little bit. Like they beat Illinois by 16, beat Rutgers by 13. They're not as good as what people think they are. This they only lost to Iowa by 14. They were getting murdered by Iowa, and they scored 2 touchdowns at the end to make it sound like they didn't get murdered, but they did. So, and they also lost to. They got murdered, really murdered. Like this is getting your ass beat, 50-7, 50-7 to Maryland. It's not even like it's Ohio State or Michigan. It's Maryland. Okay, but this Purdue team is actually, I think, a little bit better than you think. This team, I I think that this I think that their old coach wasn't very good, and I think that they're going to be better with this guy. This team doesn't. What do they have to lose? Nothing. They're playing for nothing right now because unless they get on a roll, they're not making a whole game. And I just see this game being like a trap game a little bit because Penn State's coming off a big victory. Purdue isn't really playing for much. It's a quiet game. There will probably only be 30,000 people in the stadium. It's one of those days where, Penn State, I could see them, getting out early a little bit, getting on a little lead, keeping it kind of cool, calm, like a day where, they go from 107,000 people. That's bigger than, that's huge. Like, think about how many people that is. That's 1/3 of Pittsburgh. That's a good size of people. And they go from 30,000, which isn't that big of a stadium. It holds 60, but they usually get about a half the stadium full. And it just isn't. It just doesn't look like it's gonna be. It's one of those days where it's quiet, calm, kind of. Penn State takes it kind of light. Purdue comes back and they, keep it close, kind of like how Penn State did against Ohio State. It's really similar. Ohio State came off a bit of a big win against Wisconsin. Penn State comes off a big win against Ohio State. Ohio State loses to Penn State in a comeback. Penn State could lose to Purdue in a comeback. Penn State's up. They're kind of just kidding around. They're like, okay, we got this. Purdue gets a touchdown. Like, oh, okay, let's actually play for it. And then it ends up going through them like that, and that's the game, and they lose. So, but when I break down Purdue, I see they struggle. They're 13th in the Big Ten in defense. They struggle against the run. And Penn State has a good running back. I think Saquon Barkley is one of the top 10 running backs. Once he breaks through those like first 5-6 yards, he's really electric with his speed and his agility. He's got a lot of agility and speed, which is two dangerous things. And I think if Penn State can get him going early on and then open up the passing game, Penn State should not have a problem with this game. They'll have a problem if it's like this low scoring, sluggish game where they're only getting lucky on the running a little bit. Purdue's not great against the pass, but they're not good against the run mainly. And Penn State's defense showed a little bit of a step up this last week. And I think that they showed a step up this last week, and I think that they're getting better. People I think over exaggerated how bad this defense was. They only allowed 23 to Minnesota in regulation, and they only allowed 14 to Maryland, and they allowed 21 to Ohio State, and it really wasn't even that much. They got a safety, so really it was like 19. But I think that Purdue's passing game, Penn State has a pretty good secondary. Purdue's running game shouldn't be a real factor in the game. But if they can get the passing game going for long drives and Penn State's offense kind of struggles and it's an up and back game and you get into like a 2010 game, Purdue gets a touchdown, you're like, oh, and then they come back and you're screwed. It's one of those days where if Penn State doesn't keep track of the whole game, they could end up at 5-3 at the end of this game. But I just can't see Purdue really coming out with a win here on Saturday. I know it's at Purdue. I just think this Penn State team has a little bit too much talent for this Purdue team. I do think Purdue's going to keep it close for a little bit. I'm thinking it's going to be around 14. We'll say 14. No, we'll say 10-7 at half. And then I'm thinking Penn State is up by around 17-14 at the end of 3. No, 17-10 we'll say. Penn State gets a touchdown, Purdue gets a touchdown, then Penn State gets one to seal it. I'm saying 31-17 Penn State. I think that Saquon Barkley gets going a little bit. They have a pretty good day from McSorley. Penn State, Purdue gets a couple good passing plays on Penn State, but I think that Penn State's defense, with the personnel they got back, with with Kapinda and Bell, I think that the defense will be able to hold Purdue to just under 20 points. And I think Penn State should be able to score just a little over 30 on Purdue. 31-17. I hope I'm right. Penn State will get bowl eligible, and we'll have 6 wins for the 13th year in a row. Peace out.